What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Jr. watching a Ragin Ronin review. Got a top 10 list for you guys. Actually, it's not a top 10 list, it's a top 8 list because I'm gonna rank the Spider-Man films. And there are 8 of them out there. There are 7 live action films and 1 animated film. And I'm doing this now because we don't really know what the fate of Spider-Man is to Marvel Studios and Sony. We don't know when there's gonna be another one. So I just thought that since we ended up getting a Spider-Man live action film recently, Spider-Man Far From Home, and then last year we got an animated film, I just figured that, hey, that's enough to rank a bunch of them, all right? I think that's a pretty decent sized list. So let's just rank them. We're gonna start with number 8, and that is Spider-Man III. This was definitely my least favorite of the trilogy. And, you know, I love the character Peter Parker played by Tobey Maguire, but they really did some weird things in this movie. Sam Raimi, he directed all 3 of them. But this one, I think a lot of people obviously find is the weakest of the 3. I still love those characters, but this was a really, really weird direction. And the fact that they brought in Venom into this film and just only, you know, they only, that story only made up like a third of the film or even less than it. It just feels like it's villain overkill. It doesn't feel like they should have done that at all. And so there's just too many villains in this film. And because of that, Venom didn't get the screen time he deserves. He should have gotten his own movie or at least made a 2-part movie or something. So Spider-Man 3 is the last one. Number 7, The Amazing Spider-Man II. This one kind of suffers also villain overkill because there's 2 villains in this movie. Electro and Green Goblin. And so I would have liked it if they focused on one villain, give more characterization for one of those villains. And the crazy thing about it is that while I do find the, I love the Harry Osborn and Peter Parker relationship, but I've seen it before. Even though I thought that Dane DeHaan played a decent job with his portrayal of Harry Osborn, I feel like, you know, we didn't really need to see that again. And then there's, of course, Electro, which, you know, he's okay, but he's not that interesting, to be completely honest. At least in the way they portrayed him. I would have liked to see a more fleshed out version of him as opposed to having 2 villains. And this one really was okay at best. Number 6. Now, a lot of people will disagree with me on this one, but I'm going to put number 6 as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's a great film. Don't get me wrong. It's a really, really great film. But I'm more into the live action films than I am into the animated ones, like an animated film. Don't get me wrong. This is really, really great. It's nowhere near in the same realm as The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. Those were okay to not so good films. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was really, really great. But, you know, if you had to ask me what I would rather watch right now at this current moment, I'd rather watch Spider-Man Far From Home. Just because, you know, it's a good, the animated film is a good film, it's a great film, but I'm more into live action films. That's just my preference. What are we at? That was number 6. Number 5, The Amazing Spider-Man. Once again, a lot of people will disagree with this because they would rather see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as ranking over The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. But I actually really liked The Amazing Spider-Man. I actually really loved Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Peter Parker. It just felt different. It felt it just felt more lively, and I felt that he had more charisma than Tobey Maguire. Even Tobey Maguire, he looked the part, and he did the part well, and it was more emotional, but Andrew Garfield just created more, he was more charismatic, and he was just definitely more animated. And I love the relationship between him and Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy. I love the chemistry they had, and they just worked really, really well. And I thought it was a really well done film. Number 4, Spider-Man, the original, directed by Sam Raimi. What a great film. This film redefined the comic book movie genre. It just really changed the game, changed the industry, and really set the bar for what comic book movies could be like. So this, you know, this one was a great origin story. One of the best origin story, and definitely a really great comic book movie. Number 3, Spider-Man Homecoming. Love this movie. I think that Tom Holland is the best Peter Parker. They had to go through 3 different actors. Now we have the best one. I think Tom Holland plays a great Spider-Man and plays a great Peter Parker. And I love Michael Keaton in this film. It's got a more personal story. I thought that it was... I love the villain in this movie. Michael Keaton as Vulture is definitely a more interesting antagonist element compared to these other big bad villains who just want to take over the world and do really, really big things. He's doing it for personal reasons, and I love that so much more. Number 2, Spider-Man Far From Home. I thought that Spider-Man Homecoming was great. I thought Spider-Man Far From Home was even better. Oh man, I really, really love this film. I just watched it for the 2nd time recently, actually. I like Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. I thought it was such an interesting character, and I love the chemistry between Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal. There was these great moments, these great interactions, and they just go so well together. Like in their scenes. I love the scenes where they are there together, and it just makes you feel good because you see they can, when they talk to each other, they look like it really feels genuine. They look like good friends. And of course, I love the chemistry between Tom Holland's Peter Parker and of course Zendaya's MJ. Like their interactions are so awkward, and I just love it. So it's done really, really well. And of course, that finale was so exciting. That was really, really awesome. And I thought that the concept of Mysterio was done really, really clever. There was some really good writing in there to really make the Mysterio character work. And number 1, you already know what it is, Spider-Man II. Still one of the all-time greatest comic book movies of all time. Spider-Man 2 is amazing. It's one of those rare moments where the sequel is better than the original, and the original was already great. Spider-Man 2 is just a really great film. It's got so much greatness in it. Like there's more emotion in this film. There are great performances. This comic book movie style action is just so cool and so dynamic, and it's just done really, really well, and it's really creative. Like I love the action choreography in it. They have a great villain in it, and I actually loved Alfred Molina's performance. Not only that, as Dr. Octopus, but as Octavio. I can't even remember his name, but Otto Octavius. Yes, I love that scene where Otto Octavius and Peter Parker are just having dinner together, and his wife is there. That scene was really, really great. That just understanding his character, his motives, and his personality, and that great introduction, that really terrifying introduction of Dr. Octopus when he was there in the hospital bed. Like, what a great moment. So there's a lot of great things about that movie, and he's just such a great villain. And the great villains are what make the better films, actually. So yeah, that's such a great film. So I'm just going to rank them for you once again. Number 8, Spider-Man 3. Number 7, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Number 6, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Number 5, The Amazing Spider-Man. Number 4, Spider-Man. Number 3, Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 2, Spider-Man Far From Home. And then number 1, of course, Spider-Man 2. So there you have it. There is my ranking of the Spider-Man films that are out there. Once again, I have no idea when they're going to put out another Spider-Man film. It's in the hands of Sony right now. As far as I know, there could be negotiations that are going on with Disney, but who knows what's going to happen with that. So right now, the fate is in limbo of the character, but if anything at all, we're still going to see Spider-Man films. They're just going to be from Sony, and they're going to be in Sony's SpiderVerse. So there you have it. As always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.